You're listening to Tell This Story. I'm Doug White, a veteran, retired law enforcement officer, and the author of Hiding in Plain Sight. This is a platform for those who serve in our families to share their experiences and help one another grow. This isn't therapy. It's truth, the tactics, and a way forward. It's an opportunity to become stronger than before, together. This episode is fueled by Polestar Coffee, veteran-owned and operated craft roasted coffee for people who live on the X. Use code THISSTORY at checkout for 10% off your order. Now let's get to work. Welcome to Tell This Story. My name is Doug White. I'm an Air Force veteran and a retired deputy sheriff with 3 decades in uniform. I know the cost of service, and I know the price I paid. I went too far, too fast. I tried to outlast the impact of my service. I thought I could outrun it, and I tried to go alone. That plan worked until it didn't. What did work was telling the truth, accepting help, and doing the work with my family. The lessons I learned turned into my book, Hiding in Plain Sight, the truth about trauma, service, and the way forward. It was the bridge I needed, clear steps towards post-traumatic growth for veterans, service members, first responders, and the people who love them. It applies at any point in your career, from boot camp to the academy, to retirement and beyond. The book won an International Impact Book Award and was an Amazon #1 new release in 3 categories. Spouses. This gives a clear look inside what your responder lives with, including the parts that we don't say out loud. Use it to start real conversations and set a plan for healing. Find Hiding in Plain Sight on Amazon and now on Audible. Search for Doug White, Hiding in Plain Sight. Learn more at DougWhiteOfficial.com and follow me on all the socials that tell the story. This is a way forward, an opportunity to be stronger than before, together. Today I'm sitting down with Dominic Thielmann, host of Beyond the Dispatch podcast. Dominic lived part of the job that nobody wants to talk about. The moment service turns into survival, and survival turns into what now? After a line of duty shooting and the long road that followed, he didn't walk away from his mission, he rebuilt it. His show is raw, honest, and built for the people still carrying the weight of the job. This conversation is about the after, identity, injury, recovery, and how telling the truth can keep someone alive. So lean in and welcome to Tell This Story. Dominic Thielmann, welcome to Tell the Story. Buddy, we have been trying to put this together since the end of last year. And we finally did it, and your internet goes down, so we are via cell phone today. So that's cool. We don't get the neon sign in the background, but we get a little bit of the studio, so that's cool, man.
Yeah, absolutely. If I didn't have bad luck, brother, I wouldn't have luck at all. So I remember texting, I was like, we got good news and we have bad news, buddy. But I'm here, and I'm happy to be here. And it's an honor to be on your show, brother. It really is.
No, I appreciate that, man. And for everybody listening at home, we were talking about the Gravity podcast with Chris Littrell that came out, I think, about a week or 2 ago. And man, I really enjoyed that. First of all, Chris is just an outstanding human being. The conversation that you guys had, it was really awesome. And you guys had Dennis Pishock on in studio, right?
Yes. Pishock, yeah, okay. He flew out to come see us. Another fantastic person. You can't have a bad podcast episode. Yeah, you can't have a bad podcast episode when you got good people, brother. That's
no, absolutely. And I had him, of course, remote because nobody wants to come to Florida in December. But he was one of my more recent episodes, and he's just one of those dudes you could talk for like 3 hours, like, oh shit, we should hit record, man.
Right.
Kind of like our first conversation together for you and I.
Right. We could record the whole thing, but I actually listened. This should
be an episode.
Yeah, I actually listened to the episode with Pishock, and it was fucking awesome. You guys are great together.
He's awesome. You know, when you get on a podcast and you have to interview somebody, you feel it. It feels forced. It's uncomfortable. It's a little awkward.
Yes.
Because when we interview people, we want facts. We don't want you to dig into it. So cops can interview to get the information, but not really. But when you already had a connection with somebody, you talk to them, you feel comfortable around them. It's really, really different. And I did a Given Hour is a charity, and Nick O'Kelly, a buddy of mine, he wrote a book called Stigma, and he was involved in peer support through Given Hour. And he says, hey man, they want to do a live peer support meeting on Given Hour's platform and talk about my book, but they need a moderator. And I'm like, that sounds really cool. I have no idea what any of that means. He goes, well, I told him that you'd be my moderator. And I'm like, sure, I have no personal boundaries. I've got no idea what I'm doing. Let's do this.
100%.
And buddy, it was an hour, and it flew by, and it was just so much fun because it was just he and I talking about his book and how that translates to veterans on his side and first responders on my side. And, you know, I think there were 35 people in the Zoom room. And questions just kept coming in. I was answering emails for days, just trying to make sure we answered all their questions. But it was so cool. It was just it's natural, man. So just
Yes.
this stuff is really cool, and
Oh, it's the
hopefully
best.
it comes off as interesting to everybody else.
Enjoy it.
Let's get to some of these questions, man.
For sure.
The viewers have sent in lots of questions, but there's nobody sending any questions. So anyway, man. So for people who don't know who you are, tell us, who were you before you went to work in law enforcement? What kind of cop were you, and what did the job mean to you?
Oh, brother, I come from a big Italian family up here on the south side of Chicago. So I come from a big, loud Italian family, and I'm the baby. So I've always been like the quiet person. But I've learned some very, very powerful things in life from very, very important people to me, like my grandfather. Like he would give you the shirt off his back, but at the same time, like you would never cross him.
Mhm.
But kind of short answer of like how I got the bug in law enforcement, it would probably be my dad. My dad was a MP in the Army, which is a military police officer for people who don't know. And I would play Army with my buddy down the street, Carrie, who's actually on the podcast with me now.
Yes, I
So
forgot to mention that part. You're not
yes,
just the
yes,
podcaster, you're half of the podcast.
yes. So Carrie and I would play Army in the graveyard. We would camp outside. We'd do it all. And
Kinda
yeah,
creepy.
brother. So yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. But I mean, as a kid, it was the best, But that's what kind of got me the bug. So from that point on, like I always wanted to serve. My dad was in the Army. His dad was in the Army. My great uncles were in the Army, I believe Air Force. And then my great grandfather was on the Arizona in World War One. And then my two cousins are in the Army. One went to West Point. The other one is a doctor. We just come from a family of military history. So like, it was kind of like a stepping stone for me. And then I went to the Coast Guard and I did drug interdiction in the Caribbean, which was honestly, brother, some fucking great times. Some great times. I'll have to send you a
Yeah.
picture. I have a picture of me sitting on a cocaine chair, like straight out of Scarface. It was pretty cool.
That's actually kind of cool. We've got the port security and the drug interdiction guys down here in Tampa,
Oh yeah.
Miami. I mean, it's just, this is where everybody's at. So yeah, if you're going to be a coastie, the
Oh
Caribbean,
yeah.
hey, let's go to Alaska. No,
No.
no,
No.
I think the Bahamas is where I need to be.
Oh, bro. Yep. We were stationed in South Carolina, Charleston. So we'd be in port there, and then we'd spend 3 months out at sea, 3 months in port. But we would always be like in the Caribbean. We'd be
Yeah,
like on Honduras, Roatan. We'd go to Cuba. Like we did all that stuff. And
that's
we were
very
just doing.
cool.
Oh, brother, I wouldn't change it for the world. When I got out, I became a project manager for a construction company. I had no business doing it, but I think I was organized and squared away. The guys like whatever. I think I did very well there. But then the itch kept wanting to be scratched. You know how that goes. And I've tested for police departments, and the police department called me and they're like, "Hey, are you still interested?" And I was like, "So fucking literally I am." So I went through the whole process, and we know how the process is. It's long and it's grueling. You have to go for interviews, then you have to go for a poly, then you have to go for a medical, then you have to go for an interview with the chief, and you go through a group interview, and it's just nonstop. So after all that was said and done, I got on, and I never looked back. I went to the Cook County Academy, Triton College in Chicago, Maywood, and I won the Frank Knapp Award, which was a very cool thing for me because it wasn't just the students, but it was also students, the recruits, and then also the instructors got to vote on who the best all-around officer was. And I had achieved that award. So it was actually a really cool moment for me. And then for my parents as well, because I mean I could hear my mom still crying right now as soon as me winning the award. So then it just went to law enforcement, and I always wanted to kind of go into investigations. So I went through the whole, I'll tell you one good story, a funny story that my commander actually will really like. So I went through FT, and as all cops it does happen where you leave your gun behind. I'm not sure if it ever happened to you, but it happened to me in field training
Not that
where
you would ever hear me admit.
right. Oh, I don't care, brother. This shit doesn't bother me. But it was a mistake I made, and I paid for it. So one of our officers almost got hit in the bridge. I was in lockup with an arrestee. So the guy gets on the radio, who's helping me with the squad? He's heading westbound, blah, 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 blah. So I just dart right out the door, go straight to my squad, and we take off. Well, I left my gun in lockup. So I'm on the bridge, and I just feel this figure behind me. And when I pull up, so I'm walking out, I'm on the street, walking around, and I feel this figure behind me. And I just feel someone like moving their hand around my holster. And I'm like, oh no. And I turn around, and it's my sergeant, Matt Pegowitz. And he was a no bullshit kind of guy. Love him with all my heart, but he'll give it to you. He was an old school Marine. He goes, "You missing something?" I was like, "I guess my gun." He goes, "Yep." He goes, "Come see me." So this dude.
No, I'd prefer not to.
Yep. This dude made me get evidence bags, go to Public Works, shovel rocks and the evidence bags, and made me put them in my pocket. Brother, when I tell you I was going across town, I was going across town. I went to the hospital and I sat in the hospital for a few hours with a patient and people are staring at me. I go to the county lockup. I'm sitting at the county lockup and the guys are fucking staring at me because I'm bringing in a guy who was arrested. I did forget it one more time after that. And then for that one, he made me duct tape a non-gun, like a blue gun that we use for training, to my hand every time I was in the PD. So you could just see me, bro. You could see me typing on the keyboard with my left hand, and then my right hand I'm using to hit the space bar with. But I did learn my lesson, and I never forgot my gun again. But that was my
old
little
school
quirky
rituals. I don't want to call it hazing, but old school ritual. That's
welcomed it though, because you know what, you got to be able to take it, and it's kind of like a rite of passage in going into law enforcement. There was no ill will, and it was a very that's a critical problem and a reoccurring problem that you never want to happen, because if it was a life or death situation, I don't have my firearm, I'm a dead man, or I can't protect anyone or protect my officers. So I can see why he did it. So I never took offense to it. It actually made me a better officer.
No, that's good stuff. I did forget my gun once, and I'd gotten home. It had just ended the shift, put everything up, just settling in, and the pager goes off. Yes, pagers back then.
Oh yeah,
it was a bomb call out. So I put on my utility uniform and I grab my thigh holster and all that stuff, get kitted up, head out the door, and it's like 2.5 miles away from my house is this call out. So
okay,
I'm there with the road deputies. No, not at all. I get there, the road deputies are there, the road supervisor's there, and the road supervisor was a corporal. He happened to be a friend of mine, luckily. And because I was so close, I still got 20 minutes before the truck gets there with the team and the rest of the gear.
right.
And I get out of the car. It's like, okay, what do we got? I'm getting the briefing from him and all that stuff. He goes, you missing something? I'm like, no, the truck will be here in just a few minutes. He goes,
Good.
bro, where's your gun? I said, you think I'm going to shoot this device? And he goes, well, no, but I was like, I tried to play it off. It's like, yeah, bro, I forgot my gun sitting on my duty rig at home. But I was just trying to be cool. It's like, yeah, bro, I don't need that shit. If I'd been smarter, I'd have been like, see these?
See, yeah, this is my safety right here.
This is my safety, sir.
Great
just some
movie.
stupid shit. But yeah,
hey, sometimes you gotta play it off,
Yeah,
got you. Yeah,
but
exactly.
I ran an academy class back in a long time ago, and put it this way: one of the chief deputies and a few of the majors that are at my sheriff's office now were in my training class, and then they came through the training pipeline when I was in the training division. And my class, like every class, we have our fair share of knuckleheads.
For sure.
The growing pains. It's growing pains. They're not knuckleheads now, but I told them, I said, apparently you need full-time adult supervision. So I got two regular masonry bricks, and I painted them sheriff's office green and put corporal stripes on one and sergeant stripes on the other one. And it was Corporal Rock, Sergeant Brick, or something like that. And
I love it.
Whoever messed up, they got to carry him around with them for the day.
Yeah.
And I told him, if y'all keep messing with me, you're going to get Lieutenant Slate. And Lieutenant Slate was a 75-pound landscape paver. And I had a quarter foam pole that was Captain Wood.
And I love it.
I wasn't a really good person back then. I was effective. And I'm sure there was a better way there was a more mature way for me to have handled that. But exigency gave way, and the problem, it corrected itself. But yeah, I think there's now that I look back at it.
I don't think so, brother. I think sometimes you kind of have to go through the hardship and go through those rigorous trainings and getting your ass kicked in that academy, because of when things actually hit the wall, you're going to be able to handle what you have in front of you. So it's just like in the military. So yeah, I think you did a great job. I think it was a great idea.
Well, I received that, and I thank you.
Yeah, hey. Small steps, brother. Small steps.
Yeah, got to thank Eric Tung from Blue Grit Wellness for that. He taught me how to start being better at receiving compliments. But anyway, man, getting back to you, this is your episode. See, and that's the other thing. When you get somebody on here that you know and you enjoy talking to, you just start bullshit and you get off script. So circling back to you, man. So what parts of the job did you love? People like traffic, people like the tactical side, people just like patrol. What was the aspect of the job that you loved? And during that time, were you aware of any of those parts that were like quietly stacking weight on you that you didn't recognize at the time?
I'll answer that right off the rip. No, I didn't notice until after I actually left law enforcement, and we can get into that later.
Very common, actually.
Yes, very common. But who I was and what I wanted to do, I loved being in the shit. I loved the action. I loved kicking in the doors. I loved doing search warrants. I love responding to fights. Like getting my adrenaline up. I love that. But then I also loved the community aspect of it as well. And that was probably one of the most rewarding parts. Doing the high speed stuff is always fun. Like everyone's going to want to run and gun. That like, you go into law enforcement to run and gun. That's what you're doing, right? Or have majority of people have that itch to scratch. And I wanted to help people. But responding to those calls was that always like, I want to be there. I want to be the guy to help out. Like if my buddy was dealing with an individual, I'm coming across town. I don't care. I'm coming because I hear it in your voice that you need people. And it sounds a little bit more serious. And I'll tell you a story on that one. My buddy was calling for backup. This guy had done a 911 hang up, but he's refusing to let anyone in to check because there's 2 more people in the house and he wasn't letting anyone in. He kept shutting the door on my buddy and he's calling me. I need somebody now. He's closing the door on me. So I'm coming across screaming across in my old Crown Vic, and the steering wheel shaking. You know,
Best
the thing
police
feels
car
like
ever.
you feel like it's going to explode, but it never does. So I didn't even ask questions. I can see him actively trying to shut the door on my buddy. I just don't I get out of the car. I don't even say a word. I just start running at the front door, and I just pop that thing open. Door goes flying open. The guy is in pajama pants, SpongeBob pajama pants. He goes flying across the room. I jump on top of him. He's trying to crawl away from me. And like, I'm not letting this guy breathe and try to get away from me because he's trying to actively resist. So I'm trying to grab him, get his arms. I'm throwing strikes in the meaty portions of his body. And my buddy still tells that story to this day. He's like, this motherfucker just came out of nowhere. But like, that's just who I was. Like, it was all gas, no brakes. But I was also smart and tactical about it as well. So that's what kind of got me the bug to try out for SWAT and to get into SWAT. So that's kind of the route I took. But for the community aspect of it, so I joined the FOP, our Fraternal Order Police. We're not union with FOP. We just had our own lodge, and it was out of Romeoville. So I joined the board, and I loved it. I loved doing cops and kids, where we buy these kids Christmas gifts. I loved to do
That was so much fun, dude.
the best holiday dinners, like Thanksgiving dinners. Like we would buy Thanksgiving dinners for families that in need, and they would come to the PD, and we'd give them a turkey. We'd give them everything, all the fixings. And to see the look on their face was actually the best. But truthfully, my favorite event was Cops and Kids. And where I ran it my last 3 years at the PD, where my first year was COVID, and I had to buy all the gifts myself off of Amazon. And I was just like a brand new detective at the time too. So like I was like neglecting my cases so I could buy all of these gifts for these kids. It was great. I had a good chief. He didn't care. He's like, do your thing. I understand. My commander was great as well. She's like, I understand. Do your things. Giving back to the community was probably one of my favorite things about law enforcement. And then also when I was a detective, putting like shitheads, like true. And I say that as it sounds like a very demeaning term.
The people who are listening to this, they know exactly who you're talking about. They're already assigning suspects to what you said. So we're good.
Right. When you deal with true evil in this world, they're not your average human. They do not care about you. They do not care about anyone besides themselves. And when you commit crimes against children, I tend to call you a shithead. So putting those people behind bars was actually some of my greatest achievements of my short law enforcement career.
I can understand that. I mean, in law enforcement, there are opportunities to get those, what most people would call the chicken soup for the soul moments, the ones that fill you as you're helping out. You can see the difference as you're doing it. They're very few, but they do come along, and you have to take an opportunity to recognize them for what they are when they present themselves. And yeah, it's funny, man. I had a lot of deputies that I worked with that, they would reach into their own pocket and help people out. And they honestly probably didn't have, they had it to give, but not to the level that they did give. And seeing stuff like that, there's 800,000 cops on the payroll working the streets of America. And not a single one of them go to the work and say, I'm going to be a dick today, or I'm going to hurt somebody today, or I'm going to violate somebody's constitutional rights. Somebody's doing that.
Right.
At worst, they're thinking, I just want to get home to my family one more day. But when you have opportunities to be able to do that, like, somebody panhandling on the side of the street with their kid, wait a second, is this a scam or is this a family in need? either way, we got to get them off the street before they get hit by a car in the median for pocket change. Listen to their story and be
Right.
discerning. I've had several deputies load people up, and after hearing a story, taking them home and then going straight to Walmart and getting groceries. And I've even had deputies, the Walmart managers, like, "Hey, what are you guys doing here with you guys having a district party or something?" "No, there's a family in need and they're like, "Oh, here's some gift cards. Who is it? Send them up here." And it's been really cool, man, to see the outpouring of just compassion and empathy when you show some empathy. It's amazing. Anyway, once again, I've got off on running my mouth, but
Yes.
you know, the lesson there is you get very few opportunities to
No,
truly make a difference where you can see the
I
difference
think it's very
happening,
important, brother.
and you have to do that. You have to do that,
Yes.
man. So
Yes, I think it's very
it
important because your act of kindness can do so much for some. You don't truly know what you've done until it comes back to you later. And I've had
yeah,
cases
and that's
where
true.
that happens.
It's like people say, I didn't know police do that. Well, not all do,
Right?
but some do. We
Some
do.
do.
And,
Yeah, absolutely. The good ones
that
do.
may be their only positive, and it may be their only contact with law enforcement. And look what your act of selflessness did for the
Right.
profession, for your agency, for that family in need. I mean, dude, there's so many aspects of law enforcement that people just see cops. Oh, I want to watch On Patrol Live. And hey, I love the show. Tom
Great
Rizzo, love
time.
the guy.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
he smells good too. But
It's another talk for another day.
yeah, I'm gonna have to text Riz. I said you smelled good on my podcast today. You'll have to tune in anyway. But no, man, you get people see that and they just think of the worst. We're out there just locking people up and taking kids away and parents away from kids, and
Right.
that's not the
That's not the
case, man.
case.
There's 800,000 cops doing good all day, every day, and you never hear about it. There's the
Never.
regular men and women in your community doing their thing too. But so anyway, man, I want to, now that I know that we could talk more about it and to your level of comfort.
Of course.
And I know that you've been medically retired and maybe a lot of people don't know this. And if they don't, they should really listen to your podcast and everything that you've been doing. But when you think about May 25th of 23, and again, without getting anything that you can't or don't want to talk about, what's Jesus, man? I don't even know how to pose this question to you. I want to say, what don't people understand about a line of duty shooting? But you know what?
Yeah.
Let's do that because I think that feeds into something that's going on that not necessarily controversial, but what is something that's polarizing today with the spate of use of deadly force that we've been seeing. What is it that people might not understand about a use of deadly force?
We go into the job knowing that there's always that possibility of getting into an officer involved shooting. We always know there's that possibility and we always think it's never going to be us, right?
Hmm.
And that's how complacency starts. But it's the time that it's happening, like you don't understand the magnitude of it until you're in that position. So when people say to you, train like you fight, and make sure you train, make sure you're drawing your weapon, make sure you're doing all these things, you think, oh my God, stop being like a hard on or like whatever. Like like how some cops, like you're trying too hard, you're trying to go over to the top, like you're too extra. No, they're not. They're trying to save your life. Because when I tell you my training kicked in, it kicked in. And then on the second half of that answer would be, it was also one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through my whole entire life. And then at the same time, probably the best thing to ever happen to me, to completely change who I was. Like, I'm not saying I was a bad person before my shooting. Like, I always tried to be a good person, but you don't understand who you truly are until you battle your demons. And I know you and P Shock talked about that a lot. And it's so true. It's so true. You find out who you truly are. You find out who's truly there for you and what truly matters in life.
Yeah, I think there's several different layers to the question that I wanted to ask. But you answered it. Basically I don't think any of the 800,000 cops that goes to work each day thinks to themselves, I hope I get into a shootout today.
Last thing on their
Ever.
mind. That's the last thing.
No, because it's a 50-50 deal. Because if you're using deadly force, a lot of the times, there's going to be consequences. Either you're going to be
Right.
shot, subject's going to be shot, or you may be stabbed, they may be shot. I mean, there are legal, societal, moral, religious, ethical. There are so many concerns that have to run through your head. And I don't think nobody that I've ever met or worked with has woke up in the morning and said, you know what? I hope today is the day that I get in a gunfight. Today is the day I get to play Tombstone.
Yep.
You know, nobody
Exactly.
does that.
It never happens.
And then
No.
it Never that I've ever heard of. Having been in one and successfully survived, it's something that I've carried every day since that day. And again, it's something that I prepared for, something that I understood that could be a potential. And when you do stuff like SWAT, if you do stuff like, drug interdiction and undercover work, those things get more, they increase probably 3, 4, 5, 10-fold more so than regular patrol work. So with what you feel comfortable with, what happened in your incident?
Yeah, absolutely, brothers. I just left investigations as a detective. I had made detective very quickly, and I didn't want to be behind a desk. Like being behind a desk drives me mad. So our tack spot opened up. I put in for tack. I get the tack spot with my really good friend Jimmy Myers, and I'm like, this is great. Like we're gonna get after it. And I went to the drug conference, undercover, all that stuff, all the training. So I was literally on the street for probably 2 to 3 weeks as a tack officer. And we were
Wow.
we were running gunning. Like we were pulling people off, we were pulling guns, like we were getting everything, right? And I walk in that day, and before I get there, actually, I switched out my vest. My vest expired, and I always carry prayer cards in my vest. And I had my grandfather's card in there, who's means the world to me. And then I had my best friend that committed suicide in 2019, and I had his prayer card in my chest as well. There's a little connection there that I'll tell you after the story, or I'll even tell you right now. But his birthday was the next day, and I planned on going to his parents have a tree out in front of their house. I was planning on going there, getting him a high or as a White Claw. I think it was a peach White Claw, mango White Claw that he loved. The kid loved mango. I don't know. Give the kid what he wants. So, and then I was going to buy him some purple flowers, and I was going to set him on his tree. And I usually just kind of talk to him and have my moment with him because it was his birthday. So I changed out my vest the day before, it was May 24th. And I get into work, and Jimmy comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, we got a case. This guy stole his girlfriend's friend's car at knife point. I'm like, oh, so he's already a genius. Like, this guy's fucking smart. Like, you don't think we're going to find you? Like, they know who you are. Yeah, right. So this guy, we can't get an address for him. He's one of Chicago's, allegedly, what I was told is he was one of Chicago's top 10 most wanted on the West Side or something like that. He was an Ambrose. He was about like 5'0", has a Chicago skyline tattooed on his face in an AK-47. The guy's he's a winner. I talked to a few of my buddies over at Cicero, and they said, yeah, he's a heavy hitter, and he will shoot at police, or he has shot at police. So I was like, oh fuck, like this is gonna go down. So he's looking into it. We're looking into it. We're like, let's go get lunch, and then we'll drive past. We have an address for his parents in Romeoville, so we're like, we'll drive past and see if he's there. Stop at Jimmy John's. I remember getting the Chipotle chicken. I remember telling him to put a little extra mayonnaise on there, and then the peppers. I remember this like it was yesterday. So we eat, we drive past the house, and no shit, this dude's dumb enough to park it right by the parents' house in his subdivision.
The stolen car.
Cul-de-sac.
At his parents'
stolen
house.
car. Yeah.
So
we set up, we get our ops plan together. We're going to get officers there. And we sit on the car, we're going to put some stop sticks in front of the car once it gets dark so that if he does pull away, we're going to box him in. We have a plan all set. And I remember sitting there for hours, and I've sat on hundreds of stolen cars, numerous stolen cars. They never ever come. So we always end up towing them. We're sitting there. It gets dusk. My buddy Jimmy and I, we go put out the stop sticks. He puts them down. We get into the squad. And I remember like thinking to myself, like, I'm going to get hurt and I'm going to go to the hospital. And it's like one of those feelings you get in, the hair on the back of your neck starts standing up. You start to get, goosebumps. It was just like that. I'm like, nope, can't think like that. It's not going to happen. He's not going to come to the car. We're good to go. So an hour goes by, another hour goes by, and we're about to call it. And then the UC car that's observing the car calls out, we have someone walk into the car. Bill gets in the vehicle. As soon as he gets in the vehicle, we launch our plan into place. I drive my Tahoe. I park right behind him. My other buddy, Garcia, blocks him in from the front. Get out of the car. I see the guy in the driver's seat. I see him exit and run. I get out of the car, door still open. I throw my lights on. I pull my gun out. I wanted to clear the car to make sure no one else was in the vehicle. Even though it was a call on the radio, I'm like, I don't care. I'm not getting shot in the back. So I clear the car. Yeah. He's good. I turn. He's already across the street. Garcia is on his ass. And I just start sprinting after him. And I remember Jimmy and I talking before. He's like, this guy's going to outrun us. I'm like, fuck you, Jimmy. I'm like, I'm going to run this dude down. Like, not a chance. Not a chance. Like, I'm getting this guy. So that's my mindset. Like, I'm full head of steam. I'm coming across the street. And as soon as I get across the street, all I hear is, and right then and there, you're like, oh, fuck, this is actually happening. I'm getting into a shooting. And I dip off to the left to get cover. I see my buddy Garcia jump, do like this 007 Mexican, Nacho Libre shit in the air. I always bust his balls about it, but he gets back up. I'm like, oh, fuck, did he get shot? He gets up and he continues running. I'm like, I gotta go. So I, break off from my buddy Jimmy, who went to the left of me. I follow Garcia pursuit because that guy was same direction. He went to the same direction around the back of the house. And this guy runs this open field. And I'm gonna lay it out for you guys for, who's listening. I'm Italian, so I use my hands, so forgive me. But he runs into this open field, all right, and it dips down, and then there's a bike path that comes through. There's power lines over top, so it's a wide open field. He's being illuminated by my buddy Garcia in front of me. I can see this guy running. I'm like, he already shot at me. This guy's going to shoot again. Like, there's houses everywhere. We're in a heavily residential neighborhood. Like, this guy is a threat and needs to be taken out now. He does not care about anyone else's safety besides himself. So I push out. I remember seeing the guy through my sights. I had a red dot. I'm tracking him. I pull the trigger 3 times. Bah, bah, bah. And I miss. And I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck could I miss? Like, that was my opportunity. He was about, I would say, approximately 30-ish, 45 yards, give or take. I mean, it was night, it was dark, and then it happened 2 years ago too. So, but he was a good distance away from me running. Well, I keep running down the sidewalk, and that's when it all just goes black. So I wake up, and if you've ever been like choked unconscious, or if you ever woken up from or ever like knocked out, or ever woken up from a dream that's so deep you don't know where you're at, it's very similar to that. Where I wake up and I can just feel my right arm is on fire. And I wake up and I'm drowning in my own blood. Like, I can't breathe. And my buddy comes up to me. I can hear it to this day. He's super calm. He's like, Dom, you're good. I got you. And he starts dragging me. And like, only thing I could think of is my gun. And I could feel it slipping. In my mind, I felt it slipping out of my hand. I don't think that's how it happened on body cam, but that's in my mind what was going on. And I keep saying, Jimmy, get my fucking gun. But all you heard was just gargling. So he gets me to the side of the street. He starts ripping off my vest, and I'm screaming, like, let me flip over. So as soon as I flip over, I remember on my hands and knees, and the amount of blood, Doug, that came out of my mouth scared the shit out of me. I was like, oh, fuck. I'm not long for this world. Like, I need to get out of here fast. I'm in bad shape. And it just kept coming. And luckily, Jimmy jumped into action, didn't hesitate. He's like, go get the UC car. There's no lights, no nothing. It's a Honda Civic, a 4-door black Honda Civic. Oh, he runs, grabs it. My other partner, Swan, grabs the car, grabs me. They both load me in and throw me in the back of the car. And we take off like a bat out of hell. And brother, when I tell you, I'm still hanging out the side of the car. He's still hanging out the side of the car. To paint the picture for you guys, I'm about 6'1", 240 at the time. My buddy Jimmy's about 6'3", about 260, 265. We're both big dudes. And when you add a lot of blood in the back seat, it just turns into a slip and slide. It's just, we're
what
all
kind of car
over
was
the
this?
place. The Civic.
Yeah, this is a clown car.
It's a clown car. Yeah. And we're going mock Jesus down the road. So he finally pulls me in. We almost get T-boned by a semi-truck going through the intersection. There's a certain turn into Romeoville, into Bolingbrook on the way to the hospital. If you take it too fast, you can jettison into a pond, which we almost did. So the fact that I even got to the hospital without dying was a miracle. But I remember one thing very vividly, and I remember looking out the window, and I remember putting my hand up on the window, and it's like a scary movie when you see a bloody hand go up on the window and just starts to smear down. And that was my hand. And I just kept thinking, I gotta fucking keep breathing. I gotta keep breathing for my kid. I have to keep breathing for Luca. And that's the only thing that looped through my brain continuously until I got to the hospital and until they put me out. So we get to the hospital, we called ahead. We're like, hey, we have an officer shot. Where they did. I did nothing. I just sat there like a useless piece of shit. But I just sat there, and they called ahead. As soon as we pull up, there's about a nurse who's about 5'1", 110 pounds soaking wet. No stretcher, no nothing, just standing there. So Jimmy gets out of the car. He's hot. And it's not the hospital's fault. Like, we got there in record time. But he opens the door, and I just fall face first into like the ambulance bay. And I'm sprawled out, and I flip over. And then it's the first time I spoke clearly. Jimmy's like, how you doing, buddy? And I'm like, just living the fucking dream, Jimmy, just living the dream.
That proves how automatic that is. Living the dream, we're fine. Good to go.
Yes.
Those are automatic responses.
And that's also the person I am. I don't want anyone to feel bad, or I'm trying to put people at ease. Like, I know I'm fucked, but I'm trying to make sure he's not panicking, even though we're all fucking panicking is what's happening. But yeah, brother. So they got the stretcher. They put me on. I remember laying face down into the stretcher. I remember watching the body camera afterwards, and you could just see a trail of blood following me in. I remember them pulling me into the ER room, emergency room. They had the operation room just right by the ambulance entrance. I remember it because I've been there. I've seen people in there. I've taken people there before, and now it's me. And I remember listening to this guy who was in the shooting in St. Louis. I think he was holding the shield. He got shot through the leg. This is right around the 2020 riots happened. And he spoke, and he got shot, and he went to the hospital. He told a funny story about how he went in there and they cut his pants off, and he was like telling the nurses, like, hey, I'm usually not that small. It was like, just making light of the situation. So I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, I could tell that joke like right now, but like nothing was coming out. And I remember them yelling, get me O negative stat. And I'm concussed. I'm all fucked up. And I'm thinking, I'm O positive. Like, you can't give me O negative, but it was universal when I was freaking out. But yeah, last thing I remember is them putting the mask over my face and not being really able to breathe very well. And I woke up the same way in the hospital. We can get to that if you'd like. But there's one more thing I was going to say. Forgot that, but I lost it. It'll come back to me. Sorry.
What was the injury? Where did you get hit?
That's it. So when I was shot, this guy wasn't even aiming. He was just turning and shooting. And that's another thing I dealt with for a long time afterwards. And we can talk about that hereafter. But the bullet was a 9mm, went in through, you can probably see it. My beard is right there. Okay. So the bullet went in just underneath my jaw, through my throat, that soft part underneath where your tongue is. So I missed my jawbone, went through my throat. I hit my hyoid bone, hit my C5, fractured my C5, severed the vertebral artery, which is the blood flow coming from the brain, severed the vertebral artery to my brain, hit my brachial plexus, which is the nerve bundle that controls my right arm, and then exit out my back right shoulder. And then when I fell, of course, I can't fall gracefully, onto the grass. I had to fall in the concrete. And that's where my face bounced and met the concrete and broke my skull in 3 different locations, and then had blood and air and all that good stuff on the brain.
Yeah. So being shot in the throat with a cervical spine fracture was not enough. You had to go the extra.
Doug, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it big, brother.
Yeah. You thought you were going to have a quiet night in the ER in the trauma room, but no, we're going to put your skills to the test. Man, it's amazing to me, because if you were any fraction of a second in a different position or a different part of your stride, we're not having this conversation. It's amazing. And of course, you're not thinking about that during the time. It's only almost 3 years post where you probably start to rationalize that stuff. But
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Give me 4 bags of blood. I mean, I think I lost almost like half my blood. And if it wasn't for Jimmy's quick action of, let's get him the fuck out of here now, I'd be dead. Because if we waited for the ambulance to come, that's not going to happen. I wouldn't have made it.
Especially if the ambulance says some shit like, is the scene clear? We don't have time for that.
Right.
So, man, at what point did you think to yourself, well, shit, this is a long physical recovery, obviously, but when was the point you realized this is going to be more than physical, that there's going to be a mental component to this?
I think in the hospital, I was on ketamine. I was on everything. So, and then too, it's like everyone kept coming. So I was just always trying to put on, not a show, but I was always trying to make sure that everyone felt comfortable. Like, I'm fine. Like, don't worry about me, guys. Like, I'm good. Like, how are you doing? Putting people at ease. So I don't think it really set in until when I got home and I'm in the C collar, and, I can't even wipe my own ass, because at the point, brother, where my arm had gotten so bad that I've atrophied. I went into the hospital at 240 and I came out at like 214. I was skin and bone.
How long were you in the hospital?
Just a week. Yeah. And my right arm was just I looked like Skeletor. You could see like my shoulder socket. And I had to like pick up my arm with my left arm and move it and put it on a table, or move it to put it up. And the pain was excruciating. The nerve pain I experienced was, I can't even describe it to you. I wanted to cut my arm off. That's how bad it was. And then you get locked in that mindset of, your arm's just going to feel like this way forever. So, I mean, I was just a miserable person to be around. And I think that's when it really set in, is like, I'm in for a fucking fight and it's going to be a long.
What was the physical recovery like? And I've heard the story, and I think it's remarkable that due to where you are in the country, you've got some pretty outstanding medical facilities in your area.
Phenomenal.
And some pretty awesome things that happened with the nerve grafting, man. What's that all about? I wish I could explain it better. So I'd rather let you explain it.
For sure. So they knew the brachial plexus was damaged. So they had to throw me through a bunch of tests. I had to go through a bunch of MRIs, CAT scans, all that stuff to see if there were any fragments lodged, XYZ. It was a long time going to doctor's visits. So I was going to PT, OT, and I was making very minimal strides. And I was finally hooked up with a doctor out of Northwestern, Dr. Ko. Phenomenal. I saw he was a plastic surgeon. I'm like, how's this fucking guy gonna help me? But I dug a little deeper, and this guy's like, world class, great guy, great bedside manner, very personable guy, and just very informational. He just laid it out for you, explaining it to you. So I went to go see him and went through all the tests, and when they found was that the C5, the nerve root coming off the C5 was very cloudy. They thought there was actually nerve root damage. Then they found out that my brachial plexus was also damaged as well, the nerve that branched off. So I think of it as like a tree, right? So you have the main root, which is coming off of the spine, and it just branches out to other muscles in your arm. So that we know the bullet path, we just didn't know what was damaged. But after all the testing, we found out. So when he originally told me he wanted to take a nerve from my leg to shore up the nerve root in my neck, he wanted to take a nerve from my forearm and then also my tricep and reattach it and shore up my deltoid. And when you do those things, you lose the muscle. Oh, also from my lat as well. He wanted to take the muscle from my lat. And when you do those things, you take the nerve from the muscle, it atrophies and dies. Okay. So when he said that to me, I was already in a very delicate mental state of, I can't even move my right arm. Now you're talking about taking other additional muscles from me. I'm going to look like a fucking freak. I'm not going to be able to hold my kid. I'm not going to be able to throw him a ball again. And that's what really was kind of just defeating me. And it's just like, how can they do this? Like everything seems so insurmountable. I can't get over this. So I had a conniption over. I'm like, Doc, you can't do that to me. I'm like, could you, just at least take my tricep? So we worked it out where he was going to do an exploration of my neck, found out that it was just caked in scar tissue, which was strangling the nerve to my right arm. He was able to take, the nerve, you could probably see it. I don't know if you can in comparison to my left arm, but my right arm, you can see a divot where my tricep was, reattach it to my deltoid. So they cut me from here all the way down and reattach it successfully. Crazy. Opened up some pathways in my forearm and my elbow, cut my scaling muscle permanently, cut my pec minor permanently to open up that nerve flow. And then after the surgery, I did my first follow-up, but before I'm getting sidetracked, but he was like, hey, we're not doing all of these additional surgeries, so it's only going to be a 5-hour surgery. Well, this dude still took 10 hours to get the surgery done, but then caught a flight to South Korea to give a conference the same night. Like, that's how badass this
guy's awesome.
Yeah. So when I had my first follow-up, he's like, hey, how are you feeling? I'm like, I'm feeling great, doc. Everything's, feeling a little bit smoother. Stitches are healing. I'm like, when can I go to the gym? He's like, whenever you want. And I was like, do I have limits? He's like, you have this limit and this limit, but he's like, just pace yourself. And I was like, that's all you had to say. And it was just game on at that point. I don't know if it was the buildup and just being locked up physically for so long where I'm not able or capable to do anything that really drove me to just rehab the living hell out of my right arm. And basically that's what I did, brother. I mean, I woke up at 4 a.m. I went to the gym. I grabbed like a 5-pound dumbbell in my right arm. I grabbed a 25 in my left because I had to build back everything. And I just went to work. I didn't give a fuck what people thought. If I was crazy, I would go up on, they had the other machines where you could put plates on. I had like a 10-pound plate on one side, 2 45s on my left side, and I would just rep it out. And I would do that for 2 hours, beat the shit out of myself. Then I would go to PT for an hour. Then I would go to OT for an hour. Then I would just go on walks. And I would just do extensions, side, forward. And that was my life. And I just beat the shit out of myself. So I had surgery November 1st of 23. I was discharged from physical therapy, PTOT in February. It was like mid to late February the following year. So what? 6 months.
So 6-ish months from injury to surgery,
December,
reconstruction.
January, February. So 3-4 months. 3-4 months.
Wow. So basically what you're saying is if you don't want Dom Thielman to do something, tell him that he'll never be able to do it and stand by. I dig it.
Brother, I'm telling you, when I went to war on myself physically and mentally, and I was not going to be a victim. I was not going to let this dude get the best of me. I lost the gunfight, but I will not fucking lose every day after that incident. And I didn't. And I just kept after it.
Well, that's the point of this, man. That was your alive day. You get shot underneath your freaking jaw through the neck and fracture your skull in 3 places as a side order to the initial injury. And here you are now sitting in your own podcast studio. I mean, it's less than 3 years later and you've been on the mend and been at this for a while, man. I think it's incredible. And I got to ask you this, man, for this goes beyond positive mindset. This goes beyond discipline. This goes beyond motivation. This is life's mission, and you, dude, you said it, but we had the conversation before we started talking about our boys, and you said it, your purpose was, I can never hold my kid again. I can never throw him a ball again. So this, I think your recovery and what you're doing now transcends, you can't do this. You're not going to do this. This is mission and purpose. This is why you're breathing. Yeah. And so with all of that being said, if you could go back to early recover Dom and tell him to stop doing one thing immediately, what do you think that would be?
Negative talk. Your own personal negative talk with yourself. Self-talk is huge. You're going to find out who you truly are, right? When you hit rock bottom and you bounce and you found the fucking basement of rock bottom and the demons come for you and the dark days come for you and you feel like you have nothing but pain and suffering in your life, they can get a hold of you and they'll bring you down and they'll keep you down if you let it. So self-talk, how you talk to yourself, is massive. I saw it was a movie. It's like from a movie. Can't remember who's in or what the name of the movie is, but it's Tim McGraw's in there. And his daughter asks him, she goes, "What do you always say?" She goes, "You have 2 wolves inside of you. You have light and dark. Who do you feed? Who do you feed?" And
which one is the strongest? The one you feed.
When you constantly feed that negative mentality, that negative, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're never going to get back to who you were. You suck at marksmanship. You're a sharpshooter. You're on SWAT. Like, how do you fail? How do you fail yourself? How do you fail everybody else? That's when the dark days start to win. But when you change your self-talk to yourself and you start being positive and you live that positive life, you'll start to slowly see that your brain rewires itself. So I would say self-talk, it would be huge.
I think the voice that was talking to you at that time was the voice that had not survived and had not made it through being shot in the throat.
Exactly.
Now you've got new information. I can't do this. Bitch, I got shot in the throat, fractured my skull in 3 places. I was supposed to have 3 surgeries on my arm, got 1, nerves are back. I'm in the gym, got my podcast. I'm doing great. Tell me now, what can't I do?
Exactly.
So, dude, I think, man, that's incredible.
And there's something to be said. It's like, when you want to change something in your life, what's holding you back? It's the unknown, right? And what you divert to is your old default settings of, this is familiar. It's the familiar pain. Everyone wants to go through the familiar pain because you've experienced. I've been experiencing this familiar pain for the past 3 years. Like, I can handle this day in, day out. I don't know what this unknown is going to do to me. Yeah. But when you start to slowly say, fuck off, I'm going to start going towards the unknown. I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to start meditating. I'm going to start working on my own self and to make myself a better person. You start to regrow neural pathways and you start to grow a different mindsets, and it changes who you are. And it's also very important.
Absolutely. Sidetracking something that occurred to me when you were talking just a minute ago, the transition out of law enforcement, out of the military service. And I want to talk about that for you because there are several ways to do it. You can decide that this isn't for me or it's run its course and you can resign and do something else. You can, through longevity, retire and, get that pension, or the decision can be made for you that, hey, you can't do law enforcement work anymore. There was an injury. You physically cannot perform anymore. And I know the feeling of leaving the military and transitioning out without retirement. So I know the transition where I called it, and I know the longevity transition. But what's the transition like when you weren't given the choice, where somebody else tells you, hey, you're done here. The injury was too severe. You, what, so I was thinking about that, and then I thought to myself, but this is what I'm good at. This is everything that I wanted to be. This is what I'm supposed to be. Well, the question that came to my mind was, who told you that? Who told you that this was what you were supposed to be? This was what you were always supposed to be. This is your path. Because if it was your path, you'd still be on it. If this was your purpose, you would still be on it. And, I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I got very, very introspective again back in September when I narrated my book for the Audible. And I had to peel all those things back, and nightmares came back. All the things that I'd worked on now are coming back because now I'm looking at them with a different lens of a year of growth and lessons. And I found new lessons in the lessons that I had already taught myself and thought I had already learned, deeper lessons.
Right.
And I started questioning all this again. And, I found out that my 25 years of service was never my purpose. It was my path to purpose. And I mourned my career beginning the day after I retired. But again, who told you that this was your purpose, that this was what you were supposed to do and who you were supposed to be? Maybe that part of your timeline, you were supposed to do this for 3 or 4 years. You were supposed to have this injury. You were supposed to be resilient. You were supposed to recover and now have this platform, this fantastic platform. And you've had some great guests on there. Again, the awesome studio that this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be strong, resilient, durable dad and husband. And just an example for other people to follow. I think the whole thing's inspiring, man. I think you're doing a fantastic job and I'm a huge fan, but
I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. But there's something to be said about that. I think everything you go through in life puts you on the path that you are right now. You have to learn all those lessons. You have to go through those heartaches, those hard times, the good times, the bad times, to learn from your mistakes to get you to where you are right now.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. It's like, you can't get caught up too when bad things happen to you. What is it from that situation are you supposed to learn?
Absolutely, bro. And I think we talked about this on our first phone call months and months ago that everything happens because it's supposed to happen. It's the refiner's fire. The goal is to find the meaning for what it is you're supposed to learn that lesson and move out with intention to correct.
100%.
So, beyond the dispatch, man, I know it was not built from a marketing plan or anything. It was two buddies that wanted to get together. And I think the story on how it happened and how you guys got sponsored and kicked off and all that stuff. But it's not a marketing plan. You guys built it from a need. But what was the reason you guys started it? What was the gap that you were trying to fill?
So it came to fruition. I got back from the gym and I'm just like, what I went through almost broke me. I couldn't imagine, for someone who's still staying in where they're at. And you know how law enforcement is with suicide. It's through the roof. And first responders in general, military members, it's through the roof. And mental health is a very it's on the uptick now, and I'm a huge fan of it. You and P-Shock talked about peer support. Like, I was in peer support. I love peer support. And I wanted to give back and I wanted to document people's lives. So I just reached out to my buddy Carrie and I was like, hey man, this is my idea. I'm like, why don't we have people on in first responders, law enforcement, firefighter, military, doctors, lawyers, whatever it is pertaining to first responders, and tell their stories, tell people who they truly are. And, on a day in and day out basis, because you always see, this cop does this cop does that, but no one ever really understands, like, we're also human too. Like, we go through things as well that you do is, vice versa. It's like, you have bad days, we have fucking bad days. So I wanted to give our kind of point of view and let people kind of on the outside in and see, what we go through, good times, bad times, how we handle them, how we bounce back from them. And then it kind of just spiraled into, we have on therapists now, and, they talk about tools and tricks of the trade. Calm your vagus nerve for your nervous system. And where are you at with your nervous system? Are you at home safe, the safe level, or are you at, fight or flight? And how are you acting the way you're acting?
Yeah.
It's been so therapeutic for me that I feel like I get more out of it than the listeners do.
Yeah, I find that too. And it's amazing that who thought talking to people about stuff would be helpful?
Right?
Talking doesn't work. That's so stupid.
Right.
One of the most common things that I hear when I first started talking about this stuff, and often the first response I get is, I thought it was just me. Like, no, that's the point of this. It's not just you. to be able to connect with one another, to make you realize that we actually have a lot more in common than we have in different. So anyway, man,
Great, brother.
what do you want listeners to feel when they're done with an episode? What do you want them to take away from what you guys are doing?
You're stronger than you think you are. You're stronger than you think you are. And I think that's very important for a lot of people to hear, because I think a lot of people, and it doesn't have to be first responders, it can be, it could be my wife, it could be, a soccer mom, it could be a businessman or accountant, or, the butcher. Like, everyone struggles with their own demons. And that's a fact. That's just human nature. But you're stronger than you really think you are. That's not going to take over your body unless you let it. Your mental capacity. It's not going to take you over unless you let it. So that would be my message. Is it's small steps, you guys. Healing is not a straight up direct line. It goes up and it goes down. You've experienced
and
it.
it can
I've
go backwards.
experienced it. Exactly. So don't be discouraged if you have a bad day. Everyone's entitled to a bad day. Don't let the bad days win. There's always tomorrow, right? And then also too, it's like, start practicing presence. Presence is huge. We've always so fascinated with what happened in the past or what's going to happen tomorrow. No one ever takes the time to sit down, slow the fuck down, put your phone away, turn off the TV, and spend time with the people that you love most. Because if you are in a career field like we are, we don't spend a lot of time with our families. And then when we do, you know how that is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I read a line in a book yesterday, and it's called Feral Masculinity by Joe Nichols. And it's a very easy read, but it's not an easy read because it hurts. It's the first book that I've read in a long time, cover to cover. I got it out of the box. I opened it. I was like, oh, this is going to suck. Am I ready for this? And I found myself, whether I was ready or not, digging into it. And one of the things that I read in there that really struck, there was a lot of things in there that struck me, but the one that hit me the most that relates to this was proximity is not presence. Like me, I was at all the baseball games. I was at all the chorus concerts. I was all the dance recitals, all of the things. That's proximate. I wasn't present. I was always pulling for somebody else's team. My 50-50 in my marriage, and I've talked about this before, but my 50% or more was being dedicated to pulling for somebody else's mission. The sheriff's office, law enforcement, teaching, training, instruction, bomb squad, all of the things that I was doing that I no longer do. And that all had a shelf life. Being a dad and being a husband or a wife or a mom, they have a shelf life too, but they're longer and they're more meaningful. And yeah, so that hit me. That's something that I'm gonna have to sit with over the coming weeks and really sort that out. But being proximate's not being present. Nope. So if you're early in your career and you think the off-duty jobs, a better cabin on your cruise for the summer vacation is more important. No, it's not, dude. It's not.
It's
Don't kid yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
Presence
it's the experience and who you spend it with, and who you spend it with.
Yeah, and it's 100%. Something that I learned as once I realized my shortfalls in parenting children as I'm trying to learn how to parent young adults.
Yeah.
So
100%.
And that's hard. It's very different, man.
I would also say too, mindset too is like when you are with your loved ones, and this kind of coincides with the question you asked earlier of like, how does this career affect you? Right. And when you're going to these traumatic calls of, a shooting or a domestic battery or a fight or a stabbing, whatever, you shut off all emotion. It's game time. There's no time for compassion and empathy.
Yeah.
And if you have a career like that constant over and over and over again, you're never working on yourself and working on trying to still be compassionate and loving and caring and all those things, you become calloused and jaded. And, at the end of your career, when everything's said and done, for me, I experienced it personally. I feel uncomfortable now. Yeah. And I'll share this. This is very personal, but, my wife, we're in couples therapy, and she said, how, your wife told you this, and she's looking in your eyes. How does that make you feel? And I was like, honestly and truthfully, it feels good to know that she's caring for me and loving me. But I also felt weird at the same time, because she's like, well, that's because you're trying to suppress your empathy. You're trying to suppress your emotion because you've done it for so long. That's what happens when you have PTSD. So when it looks like I'm just being cold and off-putting, it's because I'm going through the own scenarios in my own mind, and I'm throwing myself into that fight or flight mode. So I'm not capable of feeling those emotions.
Yeah.
So I think checking in with yourself is very important as well. And learning to regulate that, your nervous system. But next time you're with your wife, or whoever's listening, your spouse, hold their hand, look into their eyes for a few minutes. And I know it's going to sound corny and cheesy, but it does work. It does work. safety is huge. And if you don't feel safe, and this is what my therapist said, so don't take it from me. Like, I came up with it, guys. But she said, safety is huge. And eye contact with a loved one puts you at ease. And if you don't feel safe in your own home, how are you going to have a loving, healthy relationship?
And often they don't feel safe in their own home because of the demeanor you bring home from work. And I'm speaking from the things that I did. My household walked on eggshells for the better part of 2 decades because they didn't know what version of dad that they were going to get when they came in.
Right.
And to go back to suppression, man, all of the things in our bodies, compassion, empathy, all of those things become background noise because, again, we have to suppress, we have to compartmentalize. And depending on the volume of calls and the area that you work, a 2-week vacation is not going to be enough to reset that stuff.
Right.
It's just not going to be. And you don't realize what you've been under until several months of not being under it anymore. And, guilt and all of that stuff starts to slip in because you're no longer empathetic, which is why I would say most of first responders become first responders because they care for people and want to help people. But when you start seeing that apathy slip away or that empathy start to turn to apathy or even worse, indifference, I tended to look at that as a character flaw. And I felt guilty and I felt shame because I thought that was a flaw in my character. I didn't know it was a biological response to protect my nervous system. I didn't realize that stuff then. I was like, man, that's it. I don't care about anything. I'm completely indifferent. This person, this happened to them and that happened to them. And my response was, that guy had it coming. Right. Whoa. What kind of damaged place within me is that coming from? And I guarantee you, anybody, any first responder listening to this is like, yeah, fuck that guy.
100%.
Well, no, and I will say that there are limited times in life where fuck that guy, he had it coming is absolutely appropriate.
Sure.
But for the most part, when you say that, I'm like, they messed up. They messed up Dom's order at Chick-fil-A. Fuck that guy.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Fat ass. He didn't need chicken tenders. Good. Good.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's like, where did that come from, man? Why?
Right. Yeah.
And we have a tendency to do that. And the problem is we carry that into the home. And as men, scientifically, I've been told that we are hardwired to show our love and our affection by fixing things. So when our spouses do sit down with us and say, this is how this made me feel, we're not listening. We're not seeing them. We're not hearing them. We're running through the hamster wheel in our head. How do I fix this?
Right. Right.
So I think before you check in and hold hands with your spouse, I think you ask them, you want to talk. What is it that you need from me?
Yes.
Do you need me to listen or do you need me to fix? And I find myself having that conversation with Michelle because I'm still wired to fix. And
your career path was fixing people's problems.
Solving problems.
You're a man.
You
solve problems. Exactly.
She reminded me of something the other night, and this is horrible to say because I'd forgotten about it. So she brought it up and I was like, oh shit, that's awful. But we're looking to fix, and one of her employees wasn't feeling well. And I needed an ambulance to come to work to pick her up and take her to the hospital. It was not a good scene, but Michelle goes in there. She checks on her. She says, okay, we need to get you an ambulance. You're not going to drive yourself to the hospital. And I want to make sure that you're taken care of. And one of her older employees is in there with cold compresses on her face and just being mom. And Michelle's like, okay, I've got somebody who takes care of this stuff. What do we do now? And one of her employees says, we call 911. She goes, right, call 911. And so Michelle was telling me this, and I'm like, "This is so easy. I'm already on break. The ambulance has already come in, picked her up, gone. I'm on break. I'm checking with her. We've made all the calls and notifications." And Michelle's like, "What's next? I got a guy for this." And I started laughing, and she goes, "Yeah, we had the conversation afterwards." She goes, "I just stalled. Thank God you were there, because it was like Doug handles these crisis things." And she said, we were at a football game at the high school. Before my son was driving, we'd take him to the game and we'd sit with the other parents that we knew. And we're sitting there at the game, and she's like, yeah, we were at a game, and Doug looks over and there was an elderly man on the bench next to him. Doug literally watched him, for lack of a better term, die.
Yeah.
Guy I saw it. I was like, he just died.
That's not good. That's not good.
No. So, and he slumps over on his son, and the son's about my age. He was an elderly man. And the guy goes, Pop. And before he says Pop, I'm already clearing the benches. I'm telling somebody to call 911. I'm yelling at the off-duty deputy to bring me an AED. And, in the commotion, there's a nurse there, and next thing you know, right there in the bleachers, we're doing CPR, and I'm already working through my head, how are we going to cart this guy from here down to the ambulance, and where's my AED, all of these things, and all the commotion. And we got him back on scene. He later passed at the hospital, and I didn't realize this, but the family had gone, but their kid was on the field playing football, had no idea what was going on, so the daughter-in-law is sitting directly behind Michelle and I. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So everything gets done. They cart him off. The deputies, who I all knew and all worked for, I was already retired at the point, said, hey, man, glad you were here. Good catch, blah, 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 blah. Right. I look at Michelle and I was like, I want a hot dog. And I literally, the deputies high-fiving me, good job, and walk off. Look at Michelle, I want a hot dog. I went to the concession stand, got a hot dog and fries, and I'm sitting there eating, and I hear the lady on the phone with her husband finding out that her father-in-law had passed away. Oh, no. And here I am eating a fucking hot dog and fries.
Just like, that's just another day in the office for you, though.
Exactly, but holy shit, dude. When she brought that up, I was like, yeah, that was kind of rock and roll for a senior cop, but a guy who's now retired and looking back on that 3 years later, man, I was pretty fucked up. Who can do that? Who does that?
Who does? Cops.
Yeah, I know. But I was just like, first responders. I was like, that was shitty. Yeah, I got a guy for that. Yeah. Yeah. Doug just gets up, goes to CPR and says, I want a hot dog, and goes on with his night. I'm like, man, that's some broken shit, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
and that's what we do best.
Yeah. But it's not healthy, dude. I mean, no, it is. It's necessary. It is necessary.
Being in the time and place when things are shit's hitting the fan, it's essential.
Yeah.
But afterwards, you have to decompress. You have to talk about it. You have to, or just think about it. Like, go through it in your own mind, replay it. Yeah. Okay, what happened? What did I do wrong? And feel the emotions. Like, it's okay to feel the emotion of being scared and sad, of, feeling bad for that person. You can't just suppress it, because then you deal with it down the road, and you will deal with it down the road.
And you do. And now that I think about it, I mean, the entire band section watched us do CPR on this elderly man.
And you're walking around the hot dog.
Yeah. And then, wow.
That's the guy right there. He saved him.
There he is. Hot dog guy.
Yeah. Hot dog guy.
Wow.
Here's a real question. What do you put on your hot dog?
Mustard, ketchup, and sweet relish.
Mustard, ketchup? Yeah. In Chicago, it's a sin to put ketchup on a hot dog.
Why are we talking about hot dogs? Anyway.
I don't know.
Again, it's so now we're pushing into time here, because we ran our mouths for a good half hour beforehand, but
sorry about that.
So 3 things that actually help you move from surviving to rebuilding. What were they? What are your non-negotiables?
3 things from, you talking about from after the shooting, or just from
like now, every day, man? Is it sleep? Is it a training routine, faith, therapy?
Absolutely, brother. I mean, and those were huge ones, right? So I think checking with yourself, finding out who you truly are, what makes you tick, what makes you happy, find your passions. I think mastering your own emotions is huge. And it's definitely a maturity thing as well, right? Because what gets us through life as a, early adulthood, childhood, early adulthood, it's your ego, right? And we build this big ego to protect us from all of our faults and insecurities, and go to war with yourself. And I recommend that, of feel what are you insecure about and why, and really dig down deep into it and feel it. Because like for me, my whole life was like, I had a learning disability growing up, like reading, writing, spelling, all that shit. I hated going to school, and then the embarrassment with that, I carried that for so long, and I never told anyone about it. And then I'm on my podcast talking about it because I don't fucking care, right?
Yeah.
Because my shortcomings and my insecurities make me who I am, and made me a better person and more compassionate. And I think the dark days, like, there's light in dark days, you guys. There is. There's a lesson to be learned. When I say that, it is true. Like, you will find out things about yourself. You become more compassionate. You become more loving. You start to notice and love the little things. So I think checking with yourself, and then to kind of connect it to that, it's just meditation, right? I love meditation, and I think it's fantastic. I haven't really been able to do it recently, and I've been working on it because of being so busy. As everybody knows, your things happen. It's not just you, it's your wife, your kids, things go on. So, but I notice a difference when I put it off too long. Take 10 minutes to yourself, take 15, take 20, take 30, whatever you need to do, but sit down in a comfortable place. If you could sit in the sun, sit in the sun. If you can do it outside, take your shoes off, ground, be in nature. But take that time yourself. And if you are inside, just listen to your breath. If you're outside, you can listen to your breath or listen to the birds, listen to the breeze. I'm telling you, it does change you in a good way. And I
Yeah.
felt like mental clarity, word recognition, my like everything seemed sharper and clearer when I was able to meditate and detach from electronics, from my cell phone, from social media. But and then I think the last pillar would 100% be physical fitness and also to nutrition. I think those two kind of
Yeah.
go hand in hand because if you're physically not fit, you're just like it just rots your brain. I feel like there's definitely a huge difference when the days that I work out and don't work out. I feel happier, I feel lighter on my feet. But then you also too, you're making yourself healthier for the future, right?
Yeah.
You're building a machine for the future and to be able to get you through your older age in life. Because they say it's like if you don't have leg strength in your older age of your life, there's a good chance that you're not going to live very long. And that's very important. But it does great things for your mind as well and mental health when you actually work out and run and
Yeah.
go to the sauna, go to the cold plunge like Pishak was talking about. All those things do benefit you, but then also nutrition. Like, what are you feeding yourself? Are you feeding yourself junk food? Like, eat whole foods, you guys, meat, um, veggies, leafy greens, also like fruit, like berries, like low sugar content. Like, you're poisoning yourself with the food that you eat. Look at the back of the ingredients. Like, what does it say? If it's like this long and there's
Yeah.
more than
Don't
like
do it.
10 ingredients, you probably shouldn't eat it. Scan what's in your food. That also causes inflammation in your body and it makes you feel like shit.
And I'll tell you, man, when you're 52 years old, like this old man, um, you remind yourself of that. It's like if I eat shitty, getting out of bed the next day, everything's stiff, it hurts, my guts are
Stiff.
messed up. Um,
Like you drink alcohol
oh
the day
yeah.
before.
Yeah,
Right.
and I quit doing that. Dude, I'll tell you right
Same.
now, I love the taste of bourbon. Love it.
Oh,
Love
brother.
the taste of bourbon. I love smelling a good glass of bourbon. But I
Oh,
know
yeah.
an ounce of bourbon, my sleep that night is shit.
Yeah.
And at my age and with my experience with not being able to sleep, sleep is number one, dude. That is an
Sleep is
absolute priority.
it should be a priority for majority of people. Sleep is huge.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you you can't operate like you're gonna run your tank on empty.
No, no.
You gotta refill that tank every
Yeah.
night.
If
Your
you
mind
if
and
you
body
fix
need
your
it.
nutrition and your sleep first, fix your sleep, your nutrition, and get a program just walking. Say not even
Just
to 10,000 steps a day, 5,000 steps a day and get sunlight, sleep, nutrition, a routine of fitness, of movement, just movement and sunlight every day, you will fix 95% of your problems.
who's ever listening,
Without a
write
doubt.
that down. Write
Yeah,
it down.
write it down, man.
Write
In
it
Whole
down.
Foods, if you're supposed to eat 1,700 to 2,200 calories a day because that's what your body requires, whatever it is for you, you cannot eat that much whole food. Like a bag of spinach, a full bag of baby spinach, whether you saute it in olive
Whatever
oil,
you
and I
do.
wouldn't do. If you eat it in a salad, that bag of spinach is 70 calories. You
Yep.
can't eat that many calories if you're eating good stuff. If you're eating
Good stuff.
nachos, that's your calories for the day, and you're going to feel like a plate of
Absolutely.
nachos the next day.
I'm telling you though, do it for
Anyway.
a month and see the difference.
Oh, yeah.
Whoever's
Cut out
listening,
sugary drinks. You'll drop 10 pounds in a month. Just cut out sugary
done.
drinks.
And
Yeah.
if
So
you
easy.
stop drinking, yeah, and alcohol is probably a little harder, but if you can get to the point of stop drinking alcohol, you could notice the weight will just melt off your body. Melt off your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah. Another thing, and this isn't fitness. This is something that I just did 4 days ago. I took Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I took all social media off of my phone. So
Oh,
when
brother, smart.
I check my platforms, I have to come up to my office, get on the
Smart.
laptop, and I give myself 45 minutes every day to do all the socials posting, tagging and commenting and interacting with people. And I'm done for the day because I turned this, what I'm doing now, into my new full-time job. And I found, one, this was never supposed to be a full-time job. And I found that I was going down the same level of performance, hitting metrics. I got to do this. I've got to do that. I got to post 3 times a day. All of the shit that's not moving the bar, that is actually just taking from me. Dude, I got rid of that stuff on my phone and I have found so much free time in the day. I'm like, I think I'm going to go downstairs and vacuum and mop for the second time this week, just because I got free time.
How'd you feel afterwards though mentally? Okay, from being on your phone constantly to putting your phone away, putting it on airplane, wherever it is. Did you notice a difference
Bro,
in
I'll
your
tell
own
you,
self?
when I did that day, that first day, I realized that I'm the only one talking to myself. I'm the only one giving me input and telling me how I should feel about something. I've been able to sit with thoughts and feelings and moments and be present and just, yeah, dude, I haven't been shopping for the latest thing. It's like,
You're
oh my God,
sucked in.
I got to get those oven mitts. They look so cool because retired people, we do a lot of cooking and shit. But, I've talked myself out of so many things. Like just, I want to go purchase this because that'll make me feel good. What am I going to do with it? Well, you're not going to do anything with it, Doug. So I just saved $800 because I'm not going to buy that thing that I don't need. But when I'm not thinking and I'm just, scrolling and like, what's going to make me feel better buying that thing? I don't need that thing.
No.
Why do I need that thing?
And scrolling too just gives you cheap dopamine dumps. And then that's how you become addicted. And then regular life doesn't seem as interesting because why would I want to sit and watch my kid play Legos when I could just scroll through my phone and get just nonstop entertainment on the tip of my finger?
Exactly. And another thing that I found out is I'm not comparing myself. I'm not comparing how my book is doing to somebody else's. I'm not comparing my message to somebody else's. My background, my studio, which is the office, I'm not comparing to anything. It's just me and what does my family think about me? What do I think about me? What do I feel about them? And, a lot of times I'll get stuff and I'll see somebody post something and it's, whatever their belief is, none of those things matter to me, but I'll catch myself saying, what an asshole. Well, wait a second, Doug, how do you know? How do you know? From a 10-second soundbite? That guy's an asshole now from a 10-second soundbite.
Right.
That's not fair. It's not fair, one, to that person. And it's not fair to me to say, well, that guy's an asshole. And now my brain is closed off to that person being an asshole forever.
Yep.
From a soundbite? Like, dude, we are cheating ourselves the opportunity of one, our time that we can't refill. We are cheating ourselves the opportunities to learn from other people by actually speaking to them in full sentences and context. Yeah, man. And you create your own echo chamber. Whatever it is you want to believe and whatever it is you search, you are going to find confirmation bias because it's what you're looking for. And the tickety talks and all that are just smart enough to feed you the same garbage you were already looking for. So it's poison, bro. I have found hours in my day of just not scrolling, just conversations. It's incredible.
And anyway, life is more fulfilling that way. Life is more fulfilling that way and meaningful.
Again, yesterday I sat down and read this book cover to cover, Feral Masculinity, a book that I didn't know existed, that I don't know that I would ever picked up because it forces you to take a look at the level of asshole that you are and answer to that stuff. And no one wants
to do that though.
And nobody
wants
does.
To look at No one wants to look at your own because you're probably the result of a lot of the problems that are going on in your life.
Oh yeah, no, dude. I will. And my friend John Kelly, he's the one that, his book, Surviving Self-Inflicted Wounds, it's his book about his story. And he told me, he goes, yeah, dude, my stuff is self-inflicted. I was like, wow, wait a second. Mine too. All the mistakes that I made, the opportunities I took to not sidestep humility, which brings me to this, wrapping this up, because you got stuff to do, I'm sure. 2 more questions. One question, which feeds into what I was just talking about.
Brother.
Well, I appreciate that. What was the best advice that you received that you did not take?
Oh, fuck, brother. That's a really good question. Because
don't rattle off the list. You can give me the top one of
if I was smart enough, I remember, I probably would have took it. I don't know. That's a really good question. Let me think about that for a second. Some advice that I was given. I think it was more along the lines of like, don't wish your life away, right? Like as a younger age, I remember being like, I can't wait till I'm this. I can't wait till I'm that. I can't wait till I'm this. And you literally do not fucking understand how truly good you have it as a kid. You get to just enjoy life, play.
I had that conversation with my own son a week ago.
Brother, and it's the truth because you're so worried about, I don't want to go to high school. I want to play high school football. And then I want to go to college and I want to party. And then, I want to turn 21 so I can go to the bars and drink. You're literally wishing your life away when you don't
too, man. I wish I never drank.
Right.
I'm never going to drink again. That's
I know times I've said that the next morning.
Yeah.
I'm never drinking again. You got to take care of a kid the next day. Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Anyway, man,
still can't drink.
Where can everybody find you? Hello.
Oh, you good?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not going to give any plugs for Buffalo Trace. No, I was going to say, whoa, relax on Buffalo Trace. They may be a sponsor one day.
All right. You can find me, if you're looking for my personal page, you can find me on Instagram at Thielman or Dominic Thielman on Facebook. If you're looking for the podcast, we're at Beyond the Dispatch on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. So check us out, you guys. Or you can find us at beyondthedispatch.com.
That's awesome, man. Every bit of that's going to be in the show notes. So if you want more of Dominic Thielman, which I highly, highly urge and suggest you do, the work you guys are doing at Beyond the Dispatch. I mean, the guests that y'all have had on, you guys are doing such great work, man. Your story is just is incredible, and the pair of you guys and the mission you're on is wonderful. So I really appreciate your time, and everybody, thanks for tuning in to tell this story. Everything's going to be in the show notes. Like, click, subscribe, tell your friends, get this out to the people who know it, because you telling your friends about this is what's going to give us traction and get these messages to more people. So we appreciate you. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Tell This Story. Thank you for staying in the fight. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one person who needs it. Check out the show notes for our guest contact information and all their socials. Follow Tell This Story on the platform of your choice. Hit like and subscribe. Every rating helps get our voices to the people who need it most. Get your copy of my book, Hiding in Plain Sight, The Truth About Trauma, Service, and the Way Forward. It's now available on Audible, and you can get it anywhere you get your books. Tap into more information about this platform or resources for vets, responders, and their families at DougWhiteOfficial.com. We'll see you next time.